indeed, Monday is the first official work day of the week, and it is the last Monday in the month of May 2022. Still part of our morning show right here, the Morning Spice on the flow of God's own state. My name is Michael Oni. Welcome to the platform. It is the pinnacle of all discussions. We dissect issues for you. Of course, with the help of our analyst, we look at some of those critical issues shaping our world so that you can make better decisions in the nearest future. We're live on Facebook already, facebook.com/Flu949FM. You can join the conversation. Interesting time, of course, in the politicking and issues surrounding 2023 general elections in Nigeria. It has been acknowledged by most analysts and also political pundits that the bane of Nigeria's underdevelopment is the poor leadership and lack of it, which Nigerians have had to grapple with over the last 50 years or thereabout. And perhaps we can say that selfless and visionary leadership became scarce in Nigeria after the colonialists and our founding fathers like Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Dr. Michael Okpara, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Chief Obafemi Awolowo left the scene. And since then, we have been grappling with doubting challenges associated with leadership due to poor leadership, recruitment system. Many states in Nigeria have having these development challenges. Recruitment process is exactly that is what we're looking at this morning on the platform. The process that led to the emergence of candidates in the various political parties ahead of the 2023 general elections. The governorship election will take place in the month of March 2023. But this time around, we're looking at the All Progressives Congress in Abia State. And a big question is being asked by Abians, especially lovers of APC in the state. Is the APC serious with taking over power from the PDP that has been there for years, right from 1999, right here in Abia State? Because there were confusion as two candidates emerged during the governorship primary held on Thursday last week. Chief Emenike emerged as the party's flag bearer through the indirect primary held at Old Chidebere Motor Park in Umuahia. Then the former Minister of State for Mines and Steel Development, Uche Oga, became the APC flag bearer through direct primaries held at the APC Secretariat at Zikuwe Road. Now the question of who is the authentic candidate, gubernatorial candidate of APC in Abia State is a big question that many Abians are asking, of course, before we talk about the portfolio of these candidates that will shape the future of Abia from 2023. Anyways, joining me this morning on the platform is Barrister Vincent Wankwo. Barrister is the Abia APC legal advisor. Glad to have you join us. Good morning to you. And all right, Barrister Vigilus, just help me with so I won't more than mispronounce your name. Barrister.
I'm Barrister Vigilus.
Okay, Vigilus Wankwo. Glad to have you join us. Welcome to the platform on Flow FM. Now, let me begin with this. Is APC ready to take over power in Abia State? Looking at some of this confusion that trailed the emergence of the candidates, if I can put it that way.
Yes, taking it from the first limb of your question, whether APC is ready to take over Abia, I think that should be the first limb of your question.
Yes.
And I want to emphatically and categorically state herein that APC is poised and is ready to take over leadership of Abia State come 2023, and not to take it over to begin to mess up governance, but to take over the reins of power to render real democratic governance to the people of Abia State as they have prayed and wished over the years.
That brings to the next question. Who is the authentic candidate? Two candidates emerged in parallel congresses that held in Abia State. That was last week, Tuesday. Yes, it was on a Tuesday. Thursday rather. Last week, Thursday. Two candidates. And the question is, who is the authentic candidate between Chief Emenike and Dr. Uche Oga, the former Minister of Mines and Steel Development?
Yes, your question of asking me who is the authentic candidate connotes that two candidates emerge in the said Congress or primaries of the APC to elect its gubernatorial candidate. But I want to state that two candidates never emerge. Only one candidate emerged, and that candidate is High Chief Emenike, who is the candidate of APC and who emerged in the primaries of APC conducted by the national leadership of APC through the National Executive Committee, which power they donated to the National Working Committee to conduct primaries to determine who will be the candidate in Abia. And that function was carried out, as you have said, on Thursday, and Ikechi Emenike emerged from that process.
Okay, maybe we should look at the process.
Yes.
You're the legal advisor.
Yes.
And can you take us through the process of primaries before a primary can be conducted at the state level that will lead to the emergence of a candidate, a gubernatorial candidate? And was that adopted according to the APC constitution?
Yes. Well, the conduct of the primaries was done in full and total compliance with the provisions of extant laws, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria,
okay,
the provisions of the Electoral Act, and also the Constitution of the APC as a political party. And that process was complied fully, that led to the emergence of High Chief Ikechi Emenike. The law is clear. It's only that most people may not have knowledge.
What does
of
the law say?
Yes, the law gives the political party to conduct direct or indirect primaries, or by way of consensus. That's what is provided. It is provided in the section 84 of the Electoral Act.
Okay.
That you conduct your primaries either by direct, indirect, or consensus. Now, the political party will choose and decide the mode of primaries they will conduct.
Yes.
And when you do that, you have to give notice to INEC. And by section 81 of the Electoral Act, 82 sub 1 of the provisions of the Electoral Act, a political party must at least give 21 days to the INEC of its intended 21 days at least of its intention to carry out a congress, primaries, or even merger, so that INEC will prepare and send the officials. So when you have complied with the provisions of the law, it is now on the party to conduct that primaries. Now the question is, how does a political party conduct its primaries? And that answer has been decided in plenary of decisions of the Supreme Court. The procedure is that the National Executive Committee of the party, or the National Working Committee of the party, in fact, by the Constitution of APC, Article 14.12, that power is donated to the neck of the political party, okay, to determine issue of congresses and primaries. And in practice, the NEC will transfer or donate that power to the National Working Committee, which they did in the case of the Congress slated nationwide for electing candidates for primaries.
Yes.
Now, when that was done, the National Working Committee of APC sat and met and agreed that the party will adopt the mode of indirect primaries. And that decision,
you mean the National
Working Committee
of APC
met and took a decision. That meeting was done around 20th of May or 20th of April or thereabouts,
and agreed that it will be
20th of April after the convention on 26th of March.
Okay.
The National Working Committee of APC met and they took a decision that APC will adopt indirect mode of primaries as the method of electing candidates for the various positions. And that decision of NEC was communicated to INEC within the time frame of the law, as I have said.
That is contrary to what is being circulated in the media, that the NEC, the National Working Committee of APC, adopted direct mode of primaries for some states, including Abia, Benue, and one other state.
I am coming to that. I'm coming to address that. I am telling you what happened, that the NEC took a decision, and that National Working Committee, not NEC, took a decision of indirect primaries.
Okay.
Throughout the federation, and they were able to communicate that decision to INEC. That's what is important. In compliance with section 82 sub 1 of the provisions of the Electoral Act, which is mandatory, a mandatory provision that you must give 21 days notice. That 21 days notice includes the fact that you want to do primaries or convention and the mode of which you want to do it. And when you now communicate to INEC, INEC will be able to know the mode of primaries which a political party want to adopt.
So INEC was well notified.
INEC was notified, not only being notified within the framework of the law.
Interesting.
Within the framework of the law. And the party went ahead and gave directives that primaries for various positions is by way of indirect primaries. Then coming to what you are saying, by 25th, in the case of Abia, there is no evidence of the National Working Committee of APC sitting again and changing that decision. If a decision is taken in a valid convened meeting, for it to be set aside. There must be another meeting properly convened where such decision will be taken by the not NEC, National Working Committee. After that National Working Committee meeting of 20th of April 2022, where direct primaries or indirect primaries was adopted as a mode of primaries. I am saying authoritatively that in the case of Abia State, no other properly convened National Working Committee meeting took place where a decision was taken to now overrule that decision of conducting indirect primaries in Abia State. By 25th of this month, a day to the primaries, a letter started circulating, purporting to be a letter. Purporting, that's why I'm using the word purporting. Purporting to be a letter written by APC to the INEC, informing INEC that APC have decided, or rather the National Working Committee of APC decided to adopt direct primaries for the conduct of the primaries in Abia State. That letter was purportedly signed by the chairman of the APC and the national secretary. Now, looking at the letter, if you have seen it, it was addressed to INEC, and the primaries took place on 26th. And I have told you that at least INEC must be given 21 days. And where there is any need to change, you must give INEC at least 7 days. The period between 25th of May to 26th of May, depending on the time, is less than 24 hours and not up to 48 hours. Now the question is, assuming without conceding that the meeting of National Working Committee of APC was conducted, wherein such decision was taken, the writing of the letter on 25th as against the primary slated for 26th, does it satisfy the requirement of law? And by then, INEC had already mobilized its staff to come down to various states to conduct the primaries
to monitor
the primaries. And when you look at that letter was written to INEC. When you write to INEC making a request,
so you're faulting that letter?
Not only faulting, on the face of it, the letter is faulty. When you write to INEC requesting for something, one, it is faulty on the premise of the law. It is faulty. Apart from that, administratively, when you write a letter to a body like INEC that is saddled with statutory responsibility under the provisions of the Electoral Act, it is expected that INEC will respond to that letter.
All the candidates, all the aspirants now, were they aware that indirect mode was adopted?
I said it is a national decision that was taken by the National Working Committee, and all the state chapters of the political parties of the APC in Nigeria were duly communicated of the mode of primaries. Letters were written, circulated, INEC was informed, and the most importantly is that INEC approved that and accepted it as a mode of primaries. If you are now coming to say in certain states the National Working Committee took a contrary decision and a letter was written to INEC, it is expected that INEC will respond and say yes, we have accepted the indirect primaries.
That was adopted by APC, according to you, Barrister, is the delegate system.
Yes.
And there will be processes that will lead to the election of the delegates at the ward level, which will lead to then down to the local government level, which will lead to the delegates that will participate in the process. When was that conducted by the APC in Abia State?
Yes,
because the claims now in the public by the other side, you understand what I mean, is that the delegates election was never conducted by the APC in the states.
Yes, delegate election was held in Abia State. Alongside delegate election, the party gave a date or time frame within which delegates will be elected, and those delegates are the delegates that will come.
Did INEC monitor that?
Of course, INEC monitored, not only in Abia State, throughout the federation, and in APC constitution, it is 5-man delegate. Okay. 2 of whom must be women. We are giving 2 slots. Okay. Out of the 5, 2 definitely will be women. That was conducted in the 184 political wards we have in Abia State, and delegates emerge, and those delegates are those people who are qualified, because of the non-signing of the amended Electoral Act. The implication is that by the existing Electoral Act is that is only is subject of legal disputation.
Okay.
Because the Electoral Act said elected delegates who will vote. So in the case of APC constitution, elected delegates, we have 5 elected delegates, and that is the first starting point and the foundation. And delegates duly elected as monitored by INEC, and the people to conduct the primaries.
Interesting. It is still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussion, extended edition, because from 10 o'clock we're going to switch to the part 2 of this program. But then this hour we're talking APC, party politics, matters arising after the emergence of candidates, or candidates, whichever way you want to put it, of course, after the gubernatorial primaries. And of course, we're looking at some of those legal tussle and the quagmire that followed that exercise that took place right here in Abia State. And the question, we're trying to find an answer to the question of who is the candidate, the APC gubernatorial candidate, governorship candidate, ahead of the 2023 general elections, of course, that will take place next year, March. Now, let me take you on the issue of this other primary that took place at the APC, the as Uzuakoli annex of APC. I'm asking, those that participated in that exercise, were they also present? Because I'm aware that the likes of Dr. Uche Oga, did he participate in the process that led to the emergence of Chief Ikechi Emenike at the indirect mode primary that led to his emergence?
He was present on the day of the primaries.
At the venue?
At the venue. That's Chidebere Park. He addressed the press. He was questioned. He addressed the press and was physically present at that venue. And the result of the outcome of the election reflected votes that was cast for him in that election.
Okay. So what now led to him leaving at some point? Were there issues? Maybe he was aggrieved on some of the process being adopted.
Well, he is the person who will answer as to a person who appeared at the venue of the designated place for the conduct of the Congress, was physically present, addressed press, and will be adjudged to have taken part in that process. Thereafter, what we heard is that he went to his group and they conducted direct primaries, relying on the purported letter, as I have said.
Okay, let's talk about, you're the legal advisor
Yes.
of the party in Abia State. There is a court judgment being circulated also online.
But let's finish this. Let's finish this particular issue.
Okay.
So let's tidy it now, because we've not actually punctured that issue of direct primaries.
Okay.
Now, by that direct primaries, if you look at provisions of section 84 of the Electoral Act, sub 4, it says a political party that absorbs direct primaries procedure shall ensure that all the aspirants are given equal opportunity of being voted by members of the party and shall adopt. Subsection A say the choice are designated center of it at each ward of the federation. So if you want to do direct primaries, you do direct primaries at the various wards of a particular area, say in a state or in the federation. Now that direct primaries must be monitored by INEC. Okay. And above all, there must be a Congress committee, underline that with emphasis, that must be sent or appointed by the National Working Committee or NEC of the party that will come to the state to conduct that particular primaries. And I want to tell you authoritatively that Obiefuna, who is the chairman of the Congress Committee for the primaries in Abia for governorship, was a person who conducted the primaries wherein Ikechi Emenike emerged. And there is no evidence that any officer was appointed by the national who conducted any other congress apart from the one wherein Chief Ikechi Emenike emerged. I am now saying that an aspirant or his group does not have power under the constitution of APC to on their own sumo to conduct primaries without that primaries being conducted by the national. In the case of Ikechi Emenike against PDP, in the case of these are Supreme Court decisions, in the case of Izu Ugu against Isunaso, Oster against Ararume, Silva against PDP, latest Abatosun and Ajatosun, the Supreme Court held emphatically that the Congress of a political party, for it to be valid and lawful, must be conducted by the National Executive Committee of the party through a Congress committee appointed by that for that purpose. They are the only people saddled with the responsibility of conducting a valid and proper primary or congress for a political party. The political party must appoint a Congress committee, and that Congress committee will come down from Abuja And then
that Congress committee came down from Abuja.
I said Obiefuna is the chairman of the Congress committee appointed to conduct that primaries in Abia State, and he was the person who and his committee, 5 of them, conducted the primaries and then signed the result sheet wherein Ikechi emerged. Recently in 2021, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, in the case of Eze and Apga, held that is only the Congress committee chairman of a political party and the secretary appointed for that purpose that can sign the result of the primaries or the outcome of the primaries. So I challenge you, are a press man, let them bring evidence of the Congress signed by the Obiefuna and the secretary of the committee appointed by the APC for the purpose of conducting the primaries to elect the candidate of APC. And I want to tell you, the only evidence that is on record is that the Congress committee conducted the election at Chidebere Park, wherein High Chief Ikechi Emenike emerged, and there, in compliance with the provisions of the Constitution, signed the result and submitted to the National. I am talking authoritatively. There is no Congress committee that came and conducted indirect primaries in Abia State, appointed by the National Working Committee or the National Executive Committee of APC.
All right. Now, this issue of imposition of candidate irregularities before even that particular day, that before Thursday, has been in the media. I remember Dr. Alex Oti also withdrawing, saying that alleging that the party will impose a candidate and irregularities surrounding the conduct of this process that led to the emergence of High Chief Ikechi Emenike. Are you aware of that? You're the legal officer of the legal advisor of the party.
Yes, you said said he withdrew before the time, alleging irregularities. You cannot withdrew
before the date.
Before the date. Yes, so you cannot withdraw before the date and claim that there is or there are irregularities regarding the conduct of that election, because as at the time of the withdrawal, that election had not been conducted. So if he's saying that he may not be satisfied with the process laid down based on his own personal opinion, he's a politician, he's entitled to take that decision. But I want to tell you that what most politicians are doing is because of the amended constitution that does not allow an aspirant, after participating in one primaries, you now jump and go into another political party. That is no more possible. So when a particular aspirant sees that the process, or maybe the election, if you are going for an election or like a football match, you may know your strength. When you have checked your strength and you know that is pointing irresistibly that you may not want to win, that you may not likely win, then you are entitled to go to another political party. But politicians in their own making, when they want to do that, they must find a reason to justify their movement. So that is a reason he claimed, for which he claimed not to have participated or claimed not to participate in the primaries of APC. But I want to tell you, there is no irregularity manifest in the conduct of the primaries of APC for the conduct of the primaries that saw the emergence of High Chief Ikechi Emenike. All the procedures, all the rules, all the regulations meant for the conduct of the primaries were totally and fully complied.
But are you aware of any legal or any court judgment on the membership of High Chief Ikechi Emenike as a member of APC in Abia State? Because I'm sure you've seen the court judgment I'm talking about. It also was happening. It started going viral on that same day that the primary was conducted in the state. That he has been sacked. That he should stop parading himself as a member of Abia APC. So I think you need to speak to that, because at some point there was this caucus meeting that was held at some point at Ikwano, where some members of the APC in Abia State gathered, including Dr. Uche Oga, saying that Chief Ikechi Emenike has been sacked, whatever word that was used, is no longer a member of APC in Abia State, and that has been rectified by the caucus meeting. I'm sure you're aware of that meeting I'm talking about that held at Ikwano. That was sometimes last year. And now this court judgment, are you not worried that a candidate that emerged from the indirect mode that was conducted by APC in Abia State is having such legal issues surrounding his membership of APC?
Yes, we have, legally speaking, we have nothing to worry. Like you asked, we have nothing to worry, and High Chief Ikechi Emenike, the candidate of APC for the 2023 gubernatorial election in Abia, right, has not interfered.
That judgment has not been vacated by...
You asked me a question, and I'm answering you. I said there's nothing to fear and there's nothing to worry.
Okay.
And we're enjoying our APC faithful in Abia State, not to panic because of the judgment. I am aware. I participated in that suit of the judgment that was delivered on 26th of May. The same day, that judgment came after the primaries. It was after the primaries. By the time the judgment was pronounced, I was present in court. By the time the judgment was pronounced, the indirect primaries had already been concluded. And that judgment purportedly, like you said, held that High Chief Ikechi Emenike is a suspended member of APC. That suit was filed on 11th of January 2022 by some faceless claimants who could not even state their address.
You say faceless claimants?
Faceless claimants.
They are members of your party.
The party who filed it never came to court. In the processes they filed, they didn't put any address as to be the address of party. They are addressed for which they can be traced. They never came to court once.
But they were able to prove their...
I'm coming. Yes, if you're a claimant in court, you may not need to be present in court.
Okay.
And I'm telling you that those people who filed the suit, they have never emanated. They have never shown face one day for them to be seen, and they didn't provide the address of Sabo. That is not the issue. The issue is that judgment of the court was delivered on 26th of May. Okay. We agree to that, and I'm giving you information that suit was filed on 11th of January 2022. Okay. You take note of that. Yeah. And I'm also informing you, and that suit that was filed, the principal relief there was for the court to declare that High Chief Ikechi Emenike is no more a member of APC that he has been suspended. That is a suspended member, and by virtue of that suspension, there is no more a member of APC who can now participate in the activities of APC. That is the campus balloon, or the fulcrum, or the front go of the suit before the court. I agree to that, but the question is, what really is the status of Ikechi Emenike's suspension? When you say the caucus met and all other proceedings purported to have suspended High Chief Ikechi Emenike came up, High Chief Ikechi Emenike by last year went to court to challenge his suspension. You may not know. And on 4th of November 2021, High Court of Abia State, presided over by Honorable Justice Benson Anya, sitting at Umunoch High Court.
The same High Court from Abia State.
I am telling you, this you don't know. The High Court, I have the judgment, and I will make...
That court is a coordinate jurisdiction now.
We only have one court in Abia, one High Court in Abia State. There is only one High Court by the High Court law of Abia State. Abia State has only one High Court. You have division for administrative purpose. When any judgment emanates from Abia, High Court of Abia is the judgment of the High Court of Abia State. And no judge sitting in a judicial decision is over or superior to any other judge in Abia State. And the High Court of Abia State had on 4th of November delivered a judgment. In that judgment, the court held that High Chief Ikechi Emenike was not a suspended member of APC, and that he is a bona fide member of APC and the leader of APC in Nkwegu and in Abia State. And the court went ahead to nullify the purported suspension of High Chief Ikechi Emenike. Declaration E in that judgment say the judgment of the court is explicit that High Chief Ikechi Emenike is not a suspended member of APC, and that judgment was delivered on November 2021. He said that a declaration that the third claimant, who is High Chief Ikechi Emenike, is and remains an authentic bona fide member and leader of the first defendant, that is APC, in Nkwegu Ward, Umuahia North Local Government, Abia State, with full rights and benefits. Another declaration, a declaration that the purported suspension of the third claimant is ultra-virus, non-existent, null, void, and of no effect. This judgment was rendered on 4th of November. And I told you that the suit upon which the judgment came on 26th was filed in January. And by 4th of November, legally speaking, the High Court of Abia State had already nullified the purported suspension of Ikechi Emenike. Therefore, as at the date of filing that suit, no suspension was in existence. And as at the time of delivering that judgment, no suspension was in existence. I want to tell you interestingly that nobody appealed against that judgment of 4th of November 2021. Now, when you have two judgments, over the same issue. The man that purportedly was suspended went to court to challenge his suspension, and the court held that he was not suspended. The court also nullified his suspension. That was in November. Then in January, another person went to court to say he's a suspended person, and the court gave judgment to say he's suspended. The question is, as at 11 the suit was filed, and as at 26th of March, May, that judgment was delivered. By virtue of the earlier judgment, was Ikechi Emenike a suspended party? The answer is no.
In the midst of all this, it looks so confusing.
It is not confusing. It is not confusing.
What are you going to do?
It is not confusing. For legal minds,
yes.
It is not confusing.
Okay.
In the sense that there is a valid judgment of the Abia State High Court on 4th of November that held that Ikechi Emenike is not a suspended member of APC. That judgment, I have read the relief E and F of the judgment for clarity. And that judgment, do you know what the effect of nullification? When something is nullified and when something is said to be authorized, null and void, and of no effect, and the nullity, that is the language the court held. So, as at the time of filing the suit, no suspension was in existence. That was the time of giving the judgment. And the law is clear. When there are two conflicting judgments over the same subject matter, the first in time prevails.
Okay.
And the first in time is the judgment of 4th of November. And that judgment, no appeal against that judgment. The law is clear and settled.
So, are you saying that you are not going to appeal this, the latest?
No, not me. First of all,
are you saying the party
you are laying emphasis on the latest judgment.
Okay.
But you are not appreciating the earlier judgment. And that earlier judgment has not been appealed against. It has not been set aside. And I'm telling you,
that's why I'm saying it is confusing.
It is not confusing. If you're not confusing, if somebody gets a judgment from court,
yes.
If you're not satisfied with that judgment, and if you don't want that judgment to stand, the only thing you have to do is to appeal against that judgment and have that judgment overturned. And the judgment I'm referring to, that was delivered on the 4th of November, no appeal against it. It has not been overturned by
the
one
of November last year.
Yes.
Has not been appealed
against. Therefore, it's a binding judgment.
Then there is a conflicting judgment.
Yes. As at the time of filing that suit, this letter one on 11th of January,
yes,
that judgment has not been overturned. That earlier judgment, still remains a judgment of court, not appealed against. And the law is that an order of court, a judgment of court, no matter the fundamental facts that afflict it, remains latent and potent and must be obeyed. So the judgment of 4th of November is an enforceable judgment that was not appealed against, and which had held that the man is not a suspended member of APC.
Are there implications to maintaining status quo if we just do away with this latest judgment and say it's nothing to be worried about? Because that's the analysis you've done this morning.
Just opposing the earlier judgment with the earlier judgment with the later judgment, we are now going to say what is the position of the law.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, not what people think, not what is being circulated in the media. And I say the law is that where two equities are quarreling or what two equities are fighting, the first in time prevail. Where there are two judgments over the same subject matter, that first in time prevails. So the earlier judgment prevails over and above the later judgment. More so when there's no appeal or when it has not been overturned.
Interesting.
Yes, by any appellate court.
In case you just joined us, it is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions right here on Flow 94.9 FM. So much of legal explanation, analysis to the emergence of Chief Ikechi Emenike, and of course the primaries conducted last week Thursday by the Abia APC. We've been speaking with Barrister Vigilus Nwankwo, the Abia APC legal advisor, and we've been looking at some of this legal quagmire. We take a break. When we return, we're going to talk about the chances of APC in Abia State come 2023. In the midst of this legal quagmire, in the midst of this back and forth within members of the party, what are the chances that APC will take over Abia in 2023? That question I will be putting to Barrister after this timeout. Stay tuned. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions right here on Flow 94.9 FM. It is the flow of God's own state. Of course, so much of explanation from the legal perspective to the primary election that took place last week for Abia APC. Talking about the 2023 governorship election. And I have been speaking with Barrister Vigilius Nwankwo. Don't forget, it is the first half of the platform for today. This is the last lap of the first half anyways, before we delve into some other issues on the second half. Now, in the midst of all this legal tussle, legal battle, even that is coming up with the emergence of a High Chief Ikechi Emenike, when will APC Abia put its house in order to be a formidable force against PDP in Abia State? PDP has been in power since 1999. If APC doesn't put its house in order, it might be a very difficult battle, if I can put it that way, for APC to occupy the government house right here in Umuahia in 2023. Okay. So what is APC Abia doing to put its house in order? Because it's so obvious that there are so many aggrieved members of the party not so happy with the internal politics being played in the party.
Yes. Well, inherent in politics, yes, and politicking is the act of agreement and disagreement. It's imperative, okay, that in a political gathering, in an association, in a union, people may tend to agree and people may tend to disagree. But the important thing is that you have the mechanism in place by such a party or such group to be able to resolve perceived grievances of members of such group in the question you're asking, that of APC. And I want to tell you that APC as a political party, remember, if you go back to the formation of APC, yes, APC was formed by virtue of merger. Merger is aggregation, congregation, and coming together of different political groups to now form one APC.
That was in 2014.
Yes.
Or 2014.
2014.
ANPP, CPC,
part of Abia, the new PDP, yes, and so many political groups, political parties came together, reasoning that for them to be able to win and wrestle power from PDP, they need to come together and work as a team. And the APC was able to navigate that process that gave birth to the emergence of APC as a political party. That is an indication and a signpost that APC as a political party at its own formation from onset, really built that mechanism for resolving of conflict. If they were able to manage and bring together people of different political backgrounds, diverse political groups, interests, and every other thing, they were able to come together. That's a bigger task, and they were successfully able to manage it. That gave rise to APC winning PDP. Nobody thought in 2015 that APC will win PDP. Consider PDP as the behemoth that even claimed they will win Nigeria.
Are you saying that APC Abia will put its house in order?
I am drawing analysis. From what you have done. And from the analysis, I am trying to establish and lay the foundation that system or that process of managing conflict and resolving it and interest in a political party, we have done it. Remember, we have one APC. This state chapter is for
let me take you back to 2019. We were at this point in 2019. In fact, the same candidates emerged, and it was very confusing to members of your party. Maybe it even contributed to your party losing Abia in 2019. High Chief Ikechi Emenike at one side, then Dr. Uchioga at another side.
Yes,
I remember we were at this same point in 2019.
Yes, they may not be the same. Okay. The difference now is that I was trying to tell you that the fact that we have all it takes and we have the capacity to be able to resolve conflict or grievances arising from people who may not be satisfied with the process of the emergence of Ikechi Emenike, or who may not be satisfied or who may not want to work together with the party, that we are going to handle. The first thing we have done, contrary to the situation in 2019,
yes,
is that the APC as a political party, the Abia State chapter, we've been able to enthrone an executive at the state chapter, state level, of men of integrity, men of honor, men of credibility. Dr. Kingsley Ononubu, who is the present APC chairman,
who has been recognized
of Abia
State national headquarters, he
is the chairman. He is the chairman of APC. He is recognized. He has been sworn in. Has been issued a certificate of return as the chairman of APC, and all correspondences. In fact, when the screening was done, the screening before this primary, the people that screening committee,
he's been recognized. One of the issues I want you to address this morning, he's been recognized. He operates from the headquarters in the state at Zuakoli Road.
Yes.
But there is another building along Azikiwe Road.
Yes.
Being said that it is the state headquarters of APC.
That was we took over. I'm the state legal advisor.
Yes.
And we took over from a former executive or former ESCO members.
Yes.
And they were using 38 Azikiwe as their office then. And the law, there's no law that said this particular place must be the APC, the party, the office of the secretariat of the party. So when we emerge, we choose where we want to work as our party. We can decide tomorrow to move. It is Uzuakoli, and that's what I'm trying to explain. If we decide tomorrow, we can build our own house.
So there are some activities being carried out.
That is illegal activities. No lawful activity can take place in 38 Azikiwe Road. I'm telling you, no lawful activity. In fact, the screening committee that came from Abuja to screen I was the chairman of the vetting committee. The vetting was done at 40 Uyo Street. And the screening committee from Abuja came to your street and screened the people, everybody that purchased from in Abia State. So there's no dispute as to the office of APC in Abia.
Before we step out of the studio and continue this conversation, continue with another side of the conversation we have for you this morning on the platform 0808 182 6949 or 0811-605-2949. Also drop messages on 0906-510-8289. The platform, the pinnacle of all discussions. We're also live on Facebook, facebook.com/Flow949FM. You can drop your comments. We're watching, for those watching from UK, Umuahia, Enugu, River State. We're seeing your comments. Keep them pouring in. Hello, good morning to you. Welcome to the platform on Flow FM.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm speaking from Opakawa.
All right.
See, I'm a member of the APC. I said this last week on Monday with the present situation in the APC. What people and observation I made, I found out that I know AKK Medicare has the right as a citizen of this country to conduct or to be a governor of the state. But with our own observation, I pray as a member of the state, if AKK Medicare can pull a vote to become the governor of the state, better ours. Which people are observing now with the crisis in the APC, I don't think they will put a vote that will sack the present government in 2023.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Hello, good morning to you. Welcome to the platform on Flow. And please move away from your radio set. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you, Mike?
Fine, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, very fine, greet you.
Good morning.
My name is Ben. I come from Omar.
All right, Ben.
Mr. Please, I want to advise you, please, better challenge that judgment. Don't play with Nigerian law court. Don't say that key to that judgment. I will advise you and your party, please make sure you are key to that judgment. It's still valid. Please, don't joke with Nigerian law and judiciary. Thank you very much and God bless you.
All right, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Hello, good morning to you. Welcome to the platform on Flow FM.
Yeah, good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning, Barisa in the house.
Good morning.
Isai Chilaka. I'm listening from Umahada Manager.
All right.
State. There is nothing to worry about. The truth remains that EKK Menike is the authentic chairman, because the National Working Committee of the party is the thing that will decide who is the authentic person about the party. But what I want to tell us that whosoever become the flag bearer of APC does not matter. What matters, can they make it? The answer is no. But as for the main person is Ikeche Menike, the taking over the state by APC, they must follow who no road. God bless you all.
All right, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Hello, good morning to you. Well, that didn't pull through. Good morning. APC have always denied that they don't have factions, but it is clear. Let's hope on Abia. That's coming to Okesman Keokoro. Paul Tywell says, watching and enjoying the program from FGGC. Umar here. Hi, Star Chica says, good morning. That's a comment on our Facebook page. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Barrister.
Good morning.
Charles.
All right, Charles.
Yes, thank you, my erudite Barrister. What all you have said is very clear. So anybody who wants to know the truth, there is no, as far as we are concerned, there is no division in APC in Abia. The only thing that those who are being sponsored to see if they can destroy APC, who have always, of course, failed. We will fail again this time. The national supports the party in the state, and they are working hard. Everything that has been done by Nonobu has been supported by APC. We appreciate that the real members of APC are working hard to see that 23 years of misrule of PDP will end in 2023. We are behind the community. We're behind our national body, and then we're behind everything people are doing. There's no shaking. You continue, and we say congratulations to Ike Communique and all of you working hard to see that Aja is salvaged. Thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Barrister, I want to really appreciate you for your time this morning on the platform on Flow FM. Barrister Vigilos Nwankwo, the legal advisor for Abia APC. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We hope to have you as event unfolds in your party, APC in Abia State. Thank you for joining us.
I'll be glad to honor any subsequent invitation.
Many thanks for joining us. We're wrapping this first segment of the program, the first half of the program. I told you it's an extended version. We will be speaking with Professor Gregory Ibe, the Abga candidate, governorship candidate, of course. That will be from 10 a.m. this morning on the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions on Flow 94.9 FM. Thank you so much for joining us. Many thanks to my producer, Samson Eze, and the guys behind the visuals on our Facebook page, Stanley and Chinedu. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Catch you later from 10 a.m. My name is Michael Oni.